Welcome to the HealthOne Tips and Tricks series of videos. In this video I am going to show you how to make an entire transaction display protected. That is, for this transaction I'm going to prevent anybody else viewing any of the contents within this transaction. First of all, I'm going to show you that the transaction before this one is grayed out. It was created by Dr. Admin, and if I click on it, you can see that I can see nothing within the transaction because Dr. Admin has already made this transaction display protected. Nobody else can view it except Dr. Admin. I'm going to show you how I do this with my own transaction by right-clicking on the transaction and going up and clicking on the Attributes menu item. This is the same as if I clicked on this icon up here called the Attributes icon. Inside in this screen you can see that I have an access rights section on the right hand side of the screen. One of these options here is to display protect this transaction. I've ticked it and I click OK. I have now made, once I save this transaction, I have made this transaction display protected. You can see all the locking little icons that are gone down here. I, as the author of the transaction, of course can see the transaction and all the details, but nobody else can. To demonstrate this, I'm going to close HealthOne and I'm going to log in as Dr. Admin. I'm going to call up the same patient's file, and as you can see, the last transaction is now invisible to me. I can see nothing within the transaction, and it's grayed out over here on the right. However, the previous transaction, which I, Dr. Admin, created and locked from viewing, is visible to me because I am the creator of the transaction. So I've just shown you how to make a transaction display protected. I can, as Dr. Admin, if I want, right-click on this transaction, go to Attributes, and I can change the display protection. I can undo that display protection, so now the transaction, once I save it, will be visible to everybody. So I click on this and save the option, all the locks go away and everybody will be able to see it. So that I have now demonstrated how you can display protect a transaction and how you can undo the display protection. In this third transaction here, created by Dr. Bernay, we have a different scenario. All users can see the transaction, but one of the items within the transaction is display protected. This means that if I am not the original doctor and I double click on that item, it is completely invisible to me. This is sometimes useful where you have a little bit of confidential information in the item that you don't want anybody else to see, but you might want them to see his blood pressure and stuff. So if I log out now and log in as Dr. Bernay and open the same file, you will see that I am unable to view Dr. Rory's transaction because he has made it display protected. I am able to see Dr. Admin's transaction because he has undone the display protection, and also I can see within this transaction my own item that I have made display protected. If I want to undisplay protect that, I can do so. So I'm going to log out one final time and log in as Dr. Rory. And I'm going to open the same patient file, and I'm going to go down to the last transaction, and I'm going to click on the icon here instead of right-clicking, which is the same thing, and I'm going to make this undisplay protected. I'm going to undo the display protection, and I'm going to save it such that this becomes effective and all my little locks are gone. However, I will just make this item within the transaction display protected. I can do that either by right-clicking on it and going down to display mode And the last option here is to display protect the item. And now whoever logs into this transaction after I save it, other than myself, will be unable to view it. So we'll now exit and log in as Dr. Admin. And we'll open John Test's file, and you can see that Dr. Rory, the last transaction, has made this item here display protected, and nobody else can open it because I'm logged in now as Dr. Admin. There is one other thing that you can do with an item, and it's a little confusing. You can also right-click on an item, and if you go to display mode, you can mark it as confidential. Now, confidential is completely different to display protected. Confidential items are not display protected by the users. They are, however, just for the moment, display protected from the patient. Anybody who wants to see the contents of this item can simply double click on it and they can see everything. So the idea of this concept, right click, display mode, confidential, simply means that it's not visible immediately. If you double click on it, you can see it. It's not as useful as the display protected, which makes the item invisible to everybody except the user. And that's the end of this video. Thank you.